Okay, so I need to vent for a second. My salary went up this year, like actually went up. And somehow I feel broker than I did last year. How does that even happen? Like, am I just bad at math?
You're not bad at math, Jake. The math is just working against you. Here's what actually happened. Your raise was what, around 8%?
Yeah, 8%. I was pretty happy about it, honestly.
Right, and inflation last year was closer to 10%. So mathematically, you got a pay cut, a real one. You just didn't see it on your pay stub. Welcome, my friend, to the hidden tax nobody voted for.
Wait, a pay cut? I got a raise and it was actually a pay cut?
In real terms, yes, and that's exactly what we're digging into today. I'm Alex.
And I'm Jake. And apparently, I've been getting poorer while thinking I was getting richer. This is Money Unfiltered. Let's get into it.
Your raise was actually a pay cut. All right, Jake, let me paint you a picture. There's a guy. Let's call him Fahad. 10 years ago, Fahad lands a solid job at $50,000 a year. Every year, he gets a modest raise, 3 or 4%. After 10 years, he's pulling in about $70,000.
Okay, that sounds like progress. 70,000 is way better than 50.
On paper, sure, but if inflation averaged even 4% a year over that decade, Fahad would need roughly $74,000 just to have the same purchasing power he had at $50,000. So he's actually behind. He's running on a treadmill that's moving faster than his legs.
Okay, that's a little depressing and also super relatable because I feel like I am Fahad.
Most people are FOD, and it shows up in everyday stuff. Your morning coffee, 5 years ago, $4. Now, $6.50, $7 in most cities. A dozen eggs used to be $2. They hit $5, $6 during the inflation spikes of 2022 and 2023.
Don't even get me started on rent. My rent went up 20% in 2 years. 20%!
Exactly. And your salary didn't go up 20% to match it, did it?
Oh no, definitely not.
That gap between what your money used to buy and what it buys now, that's not bad luck. That's inflation doing its job. And most people never connect those dots. They just feel poorer and blame their spending habits.
Right, you just assume you're being irresponsible. Like maybe I'm just buying too many coffees.
And maybe you are, but even if you cut the coffee, inflation is still eating your lunch. Literally.
Okay, so let's talk about the big picture here. Because I always thought inflation was just like prices going up a little. It's more than that, isn't it?
Way more. This is segment 2, inflation, the tax nobody voted for. Here's the thing about regular taxes. The government has to announce them. There's a debate, a vote. People push back. Inflation doesn't work like that. Nobody holds a press conference and says, "Hey everyone, we're taking 6% of the value of your savings this year." It just happens, quietly, slowly, and by the time you notice, it's already done.
So it's like a tax that was never on the ballot.
Exactly. And here's the kicker. Governments actually benefit from moderate inflation. When they borrow money and pay it back with future dollars that are worth less, inflation quietly reduces their debt burden. Meanwhile, the person sitting on a savings account is the one footing the bill.
Hold on, so the government is actually incentivized to let inflation run? That feels like it should be illegal.
Welcome to macroeconomics, Jake. Here's a number that should stop everyone in their tracks. The US dollar has lost over 96% of its purchasing power since the Federal Reserve was created in 1913. The dollar in your pocket today is worth less than 4 cents compared to back then.
I don't even know what to do with that number. 4 cents?
4 cents. And the system that presides over all of this is the central bank, which brings us to segment 3, how central banks print your purchasing power away.
Good, because I'm not an economist. I'm just a guy who's confused about his bank account.
When the economy slows down, central banks lower interest rates. Borrowing gets cheap, banks lend more. More money flows into the economy chasing the same goods and services, and that equals higher prices. That's inflation in its simplest form.
Okay, so more money in the system makes each dollar worth a little less.
Exactly. Think of it like pizza. If there are 10 slices and 10 people, everyone gets one slice. Now suddenly there are 20 people but still 10 slices. Some people go hungry. Same idea. More dollars, same stuff to buy, every dollar buys less.
That pizza analogy is genuinely the clearest this has ever been for me. So where does the savings account come in? I thought keeping money in savings was responsible.
It's responsible in the sense that you're not spending it. But here's the brutal truth. If your savings account is paying you 2% interest and inflation is running at 6%, you're losing 4% of your purchasing power every single year, guaranteed.
Wait, seriously? I'm losing money by saving money?
In real terms, yes. If your savings account interest is below inflation, you're not saving. You're slowly donating to the system. The number in your account goes up, but what that number can buy goes down.
That's such a gut punch. I feel like I need a minute.
Here's the long-term gut punch. Every 10 years without real investing, your money can lose up to 40% of its real value. $100,000 in a low-yield account for a decade might only have the purchasing power of $60,000 by the end. You did nothing wrong, you were just sitting still while the world moved.
Okay, who does this actually hurt versus who benefits? Because someone must be winning here.
Great segue. Segment 4. Who wins and who loses in the inflation game? The losers are predictable. People with fixed salaries who don't negotiate, people with cash and low interest accounts, and anyone on a fixed income. Retirees on pensions, for example. They're getting crushed silently.
And the winners?
People with debt at fixed interest rates, actually. If you borrowed at 3% and inflation is 6%, the real cost of your debt is shrinking every year. The bank eats that difference. And people who own real assets, real estate, stocks, gold, those tend to rise with or above inflation, so they're protected.
So basically, if you own things, you're okay. If you just hold cash, you lose.
That's a simplified but largely accurate way to put it. And to really drive home how bad this can get, look at Venezuela between 2016 and 2019. Inflation hit 1,000,000% annually. People would receive their wages in the morning and rush to spend them before prices changed by afternoon. The physical currency became nearly worthless.
1,000,000%. That's not even a real number in my brain. That's just chaos.
And Turkey, 2022, 85% annual inflation. Savings lost nearly half their value in 12 months. Look, we're not at those extremes in most developed countries, but the direction is the same, just slower. And slower is actually more dangerous because you don't panic, you just gradually get poorer and wonder why life feels harder.
Okay, you've thoroughly scared me. Now please tell me what to actually do, because I refuse to just accept that inflation wins.
That's the energy. Segment 5. 3 practical steps to protect yourself. Real, actionable things, not just invest bro generic advice. Step 1. Calculate your personal inflation rate, not the government CPI number, yours.
Okay, how do I actually do that?
Pull up your bank statements from 12 months ago. Look at your top 10 recurring expenses. Rent, groceries, utilities, gas, subscriptions. Compare those to what you're paying today. Calculate the percentage increase. That is your personal inflation rate. And it might be higher or lower than the national average depending on where you live and how you live.
That's actually doable. I can do that tonight. What's step 2?
Step 2, use your personal inflation rate when asking for a raise. Don't just say, I'd like more money. Go in with data. My personal cost of living is up 9%. I need at minimum a 9% adjustment to maintain my purchasing power, and I'm asking for 12 to actually grow. That's hard to dismiss.
That's genuinely smart. Using their own logic against them? I love it. What's step 3?
Step 3, move money into inflation-resistant assets. It doesn't have to be complicated. Gold has preserved purchasing power for thousands of years. It's a preservation asset. Broad market index funds are simple and low cost, historically returning 7 to 10% annually. And real estate, even through REITs, gives you exposure to assets that tend to rise with inflation.
So you don't have to be rich to start this? Like, this isn't just advice for people with tons of money to invest.
Absolutely not. You can start with $50 a month. The point isn't the amount. It's moving your money from somewhere inflation eats it slowly to somewhere it has a chance to keep up. Doing nothing is the only guaranteed losing strategy.
Okay, let me try to sum up what I've learned today because my brain is a little full right now.
Go for it.
All right, my raise was a pay cut in real terms. Inflation is a tax I never voted on. The government and banks have reasons to let it run. My savings account is bleeding value. People who win own assets. I need to calculate my personal rate, negotiate with data, and stop letting my money sit there getting eaten alive.
Perfect summary. And here is your one homework assignment this week. Just one. Open a notes app. Write down your top 10 monthly expenses. Then find what those same things cost 12 months ago. Calculate the percentage increase. That number is your personal inflation rate. And once you know it, your salary negotiation, saving strategy, and investment decisions all start to make sense.
I love that it's just one thing, not a 20-step overhaul. Know your number. That's it for this week.
Know your number. Next week, we go deep on what to do once you have it, investment basics without the jargon, and how to think about risk at different life stages.
That one's gonna hit hard. If you got value from today's episode, share it with one person who needs to hear this. I'm Jake.
And I'm Alex. Stay curious, stay informed, and don't let the hidden tax win. We'll see you next week.